Bong. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the No Cap Recap here on Through the Keyholes Patreon page. What's up, patrons? Hopefully you're joining us via the live stream. If not, you can just check us out on the podcast. But thought we need to do a No Cap recap for the Oklahoma-Alabama playoff game to be played in Norman, Oklahoma. I don't think anybody had Alabama, especially after them getting mushroom stamped in the SEC title game by the Georgia Bulldogs. They have not fared well the last handful of weeks, partly due probably because of Brent Venables' defensive game plan and performance against them in Tuscaloosa in the 23-21 win you had a few weeks ago. But let's react to it, guys. Brady's here. Alan's here, Peyton's here. No Matt, he is unavailable. His lovely wife celebrated her 30th birthday yesterday, so happy birthday to Matt's wife, Erica, for that. So I'm sure he's probably, I just need to rest. I'm sure that's why Matt's going to be sitting out this one, but we'll hear from him on Tuesday. But Peyton, OU Alabama, Norman, Oklahoma. Do we know if it's Friday or Saturday yet? Are they announcing that? Because I turned it off.
I don't know yet.
Okay.
Yeah, push that to Alan while I let the dogs outside.
Okay. Well, okay. Alan.
Yeah. I'll take a look and see what I can find here. Yeah.
Yeah. OU Alabama. First round, 8-9 seed. The winner gets to play Indiana in, I assume, the Rose Bowl, since they're the Big Ten champion. So look, this is going to be big for the yardage crowd because there were so many yards in that game that Alabama had. They ran such a sexy offense. It was so pretty, and yet they didn't score that many points. And the most important thing, they didn't score more points than Oklahoma. So considering that the going thought was Notre Dame or Miami, either of which would have been a fun matchup just from a historical standpoint if you're an OU fan. But Alabama, I mean, certainly that's a fun challenge, but let's do it again.
Yeah, that's a huge surprise, right? I mean, I was looking at thinking there's no way that I assumed that they would want to avoid rematches just in this. I mean, we just saw this Oklahoma-Alabama game. I kind of was excited by the idea of seeing like OU Notre Dame, but no one's going to be seeing Notre Dame, I guess. Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Alabama, it was interesting to me watching last night play out because in some ways the way that game played out was similar insofar as to the Oklahoma-Alabama game, insofar as Georgia got a block punt early in the game. They picked off Ty Simpson earlier in the game. I think they had some really short touchdown drives. So, looking at it from that standpoint, obviously Georgia was able to move the ball better and really kind of stopped Bama better than OU did. But it did kind of play out similarly in that respect. I don't know what to make of this second time around, if it's an advantage for OU or not. Or if it's an advantage for Bama, how will they change the way that they scheme up things, or having seen Brent Venables one time already. But it's just fun to be there, I guess, right?
Absolutely. Look, OU played Alabama a few weeks ago, and Brent Venables going into that game had a week off to prepare for Kalen DeBoer. Now he's got 2. So, yikes. Peyton, we were kind of talking about it before we went live. This is kind of weirdly, it's a good spot for OU. I mean, obviously playing at home is going to be great. The crowd's going to be juiced up. It's again, I'm writing about this on Sooners on SI. I think it's going to drop around 4, just going through the history of OU playing Miami in the Orange Bowl for a national championship, Florida State, Florida in Miami in their home state. I mean, hell, they played Arizona State in the Fiesta Bowl before. Just years of having to play programs in big-time bowl games or in national championship scenario games in their own backyard. Now OU gets to say, all right, come to Norman for essentially the same type of deal. But in addition to that, as it pertains to this team, Peyton, OU goes into Tuscaloosa a few weeks ago and they win. And that team was pissed off that Alabama made the OU game their homecoming game, because the Monday practice availability, most of the players we talked to, without even it being kind of presented to them in the question, brought it up themselves that, yeah, we're their homecoming game. So we're pretty excited for this one. So if they're going to be pissed off by that, surely they're going to be pissed off by the fact that even though they went down into Tuscaloosa and won, most people with an opinion just hand waved the victory because of all the yards that Alabama had, because OU had an 87-yard pick six in it, and turnovers suddenly are fluky. So the OU's not going to be short of some bulletin board material going into this game, no doubt.
No, you're right there. Oklahoma won't be short of motivation, on that side of it. Now, I remember watching that game and the people, the defensive players mainly speaking after the game, saying, "Hey, it's a homecoming game." They really stood up and I answered that call. I'm not sure if the offense got the memo that they were Alabama's homecoming game, but I mean, as an Oklahoma fan, I have two ways of thinking about this game. One, Bama seems pretty beat up. They've got some time to get healthy, but they seem pretty beat up. They've seemed to have lost all ability to protect Ty Simpson in the pass game. They can't run the ball, and Ty's just been off, for the main part. So I can see that and think, let's say, our Mason Thomas is back. That hasn't been reported, but it's all, rumored he'd be back for a playoff. And you think, wow, Oklahoma defensive line, just spam the win button at that point in time. On the other side of it, I'm not going to be a fan that is upset about pundits speaking about the first game, because if Oklahoma's offense walks in this game cracking their neck going, just wait until the defense scores, that might be an issue for Oklahoma in this first round gaming. Oklahoma's offense needs to be, I won't say remarkably better. They need to be consistently able to pick up some first downs at least, and then kind of roll the dice are where they are. But with 2 more weeks to go, I think it will be very healthy for Oklahoma to kind of get running backs back, get some wide receivers back, and kind of play that side. The first matchup's a tough matchup. Won't lie, Alabama's tough. They've got talent. They've got talent everywhere. They only seem to have issues with Georgia and recently, in Oklahoma historically, playing that game. But if you look at the rest of the draw, I would say Oklahoma did end up benefiting. I mean, the two teams, in my personal opinion, Oklahoma would really want to avoid, they are avoiding. They will not play an Ohio State or a Georgia game unless they make it to the national championship. So I think that's good there. Oklahoma's defensive line and their defense makes it to where they can win any single game. And Alabama's offense seems sluggish right now. We just saw what Indiana can do when it plays against a top flight defense. So maybe that's beatable. I mean, you can walk your way through it if you're going to be like a big time homer about it. But I think this is pretty good considering the teams that made it for Oklahoma at this point in time.
Yeah, no question. And I mean, for the viewers watching this right now, Peyton's got the bracket up right now, and you can just tell like OU's on a fairly favorable, the favorable side of the bracket. I mean, the only thing that you would probably would rather have is, it would be great to play the winner of A&M and Miami, because they, other than the group of 5 teams, they seem like we had to let these teams in over X, Y, and Z. And so they're there as a result of having 12 teams in this playoff. But considering all things, and again, Alabama is going to be tough. It's going to be, it's always tough to play a team twice in the same season. OU's done that. I mean, since 2000, they would have done that twice. Kansas State in 2000 and Texas in 2018, I think. No, I mean TCU 2017, and actually they've done it a few times, because the Big 12 did the 10 teams in the conference, and then you'd still play a Big 12 championship game. OU's record, in those years is really good. I mean, the only time that they would have lost would have been Texas, right? In the regular season, beating them in the Big 12 championship game.
Iowa State in 2020, technically.
Yeah, they got the bag, yeah.
The game
undefeated in the rematch.
The game that OU, I don't think they've ever had more penalties in a game than that Iowa State game in 2020. That was an awful display. But I mean, I would say this, knowing full well it's going to be tough. Alabama's going to be motivated because, again, this is going to be big for the Alabama portion of their fan base that's like, that hand waves anytime OU's beating them. It's like, we don't care about the Sugar Bowl or the regular season. We care about championships. So you don't want to lose to Alabama and kind of fuel that fire. But I will point out, Alan, as let's try to remember a little bit of the game in the regular season, maybe like project the matchup. Peyton kind of talked about it, how Alabama's a little bit beat up right now, ego wise, physical wise. It is important to remember, at least to me, Xavier Robinson, this was a very small sequence of plays. Xavier looked like he was about to have a normal Xavier Robinson game against Alabama, and then he got hurt. And that was the game he got hurt, and then he was a shell of himself in the final few regular season games after the Alabama win. So the hope is, Alan, that you can at least get Xavier Robinson back closer to full health. And if that be the case, and OU has a running game it can depend on, it makes it that much easier for John Mateer and the entire offense to go up against the same team twice in less than a month.
I guess. I mean, that's a optimistic way of looking at it. Yeah. I mean, I think that OU will be healthier and on better footing offensively going into this game. I don't know though if I mean, they've just looked so rough, through the end here. I mean, you're right though. Having somebody who can actually run the football consistently that you can count on, that is a big plus for this game for sure. But it's just one of those things where, again, I'm not really counting on any type of miraculous offensive improvement. I just think that the offense will give better account of itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and look, once you get past Alabama in the regular season, and then you look at Missouri and you look at LSU, it's like, okay, OU playing at home, they're going to be favored. They should win those games. And that's exactly what they did. What did the offense look like? For the most part, not particularly good in the least, and especially against LSU with the 3 turnovers, even though statistically it was weirdly the best John Mateer game he had in conference, in terms of just like yardage explosion. Like, he's had better efficient games, no doubt, in conference, but it was the first time that John Mateer was able to throw the ball downfield consistently, and unfortunately 3 of them resulted in turnovers. But I mean, I think for this, Peyton, it's just going through those last few regular season games, it was very apparent to me that not only do you want to just get through them, get to the playoff, and get healthy with the time off for Xavier Robinson, for R. Mason Thomas, for basically everybody, but I mean, there's got to be something to be said about John just needs a few weeks off and getting away from the week-to-week pressure of playing in the SEC and the week-to-week pressure of don't fuck up, or if we ask you to make a play, you've got to make it. Having a few weeks off, like, I want to believe, I want to hope that maybe you can have a slightly better John Mateer offensively against Alabama. If that be the case, that gives OU a really good shot.
Yeah, I think there's the thing I just shared on screen apparently is not right. It says Alabama will play at Oklahoma Friday night, 7 p.m. Central.
Is the ESPN app wrong?
I don't know. Maybe.
Oh.
Maybe there's an Alabama staff writer just tweeted that out.
Yeah, ESPN app was wrong a little bit ago.
So it's not Saturday morning. It's
December 19th.
Friday night.
Yeah, Friday night. Yep. Okay.
7 p.m. It'd be
Friday
nice chilly
lights.
right there. Yeah, let's get it done. And then January for 1st of January. Yeah, I hate that. But anyway, what were we talking about? Oklahoma resting. No, I think to me, it's less of a, I don't know about that. There's 2 ways you can think about it. Oklahoma needed time to rest and get healthy, right? Or Oklahoma's been playing playoff games since the Ole Miss loss, and they've been on a roll, and now you've given them a break, right? I mean, it might be harder to quote unquote relock in once you're in the trenches, and you get a chance to rest up. You've got to hope Oklahoma's able to get themselves back into that mindset because, like I mentioned, Oklahoma's been playing playoff games all of November. I mean, this is they were in when you're in every single week, right? Because now we are. Because what Brady, see if you can say the thing. This coming game. What is this coming game for Brent Venables?
You know, I don't know if I 1,000% agree with that. And it's only because
Oklahoma's got to win a playoff game eventually.
No. You're absolutely right. But in terms of like where, in order for me to be consistent,
yeah,
I said 9-3, and the whole point of 9-3 was just if they're at least in the conversation. If they would have been 9-3, they would have been in the conversation just as much as Texas was until this previous weekend. And that would have been a huge step up from where we were last year. And so that was kind of my thought. And so because of that, I can't be 1,000% upset if OU gets to the playoff and loses, even though it's in Norman, even though it's against a team that they've already beaten. I just don't know if that's fair. But no doubt, if OU's losing, I'm gonna be fucking mad. So I get what you're saying. I get where you were going. It is a gigantic game for Brent Venables. If he's able to win it, it would be a great box for him to check. And he's done nothing but check a lot of boxes this season. So it's right in line with that.
Yeah, I mean, I have a hard time. I mean, I don't ever you hate the idea like, oh, just happy to be there or whatever. But given, I mean, the way this season has played out and everything, this feels like I don't know. He's kind of at a house money point. That's just me as a fan. I don't know.
Yeah, and look, for this team, particularly with the mantras it's had hard to kill, road dogs, essentially just kind of like a no one believes in us. Everyone has that to an extent, but OU's like really embodied it. And they've done nothing but win the games on their schedule in November. By virtue of that, they're in the playoff, and yet there's still a lot of hand waving against OU. I even saw someone tweet out that OU's best player is a kicker this morning. And look, Tate Sandell's going to win the Lou Groza, so he's pretty fucking good. But this team in particular, with how they've kind of picked themselves up, won games, the style that they've won games, Alan, having Alabama bodes well, because like we kind of already talked about, nobody really gave OU that much credit. They gave them credit just by virtue of they won the game, but neutral site, tomorrow I'd pick Alabama 9 times out of 10. This team thrives off of bullshit talk and bulletin board material and motivation. And Brent's going to have I think a very easy path to motivating them to play well and kind of pick up their rhythm that Peyton mentioned. You have a few weeks off that they may have naturally lost just by virtue of having those weeks off.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, if there is a motivational angle here, it's that, yes, everyone said that the first time you beat this team was a fluke. Now you get a chance to show that it was for real. So yeah, for sure. I mean, also there's just going to be a lot of like negative vibes around Alabama in general for the next couple of weeks. I mean, they made it in, right, but they got kind of embarrassed by Georgia in the SEC championship. I think that there are going to be a lot of questions for Kalen DeBoer to answer. There's going to be a lot of talk about Alabama kind of having like backed in to the playoff just by virtue of the fact that essentially this seems like it's kind of affirming like the conference championship games can't hurt you type thing.
Yeah.
And so all that being said, I'm not sure what the vibes around Bama will be like. That doesn't sound particularly positive. So I mean, I also, you're like Brent can put on a loop like Nick Saban. Yeah, and there we go. Yes, Alabama is a slight favorite. So again, you can play up the you're an underdog against a team you've already beat. You can put on a loop Nick Saban kind of shit talking OU how they played the past few weeks and his commentary on that. So I mean, there's some motivational angles to play here for whatever those are worth.
And I'm glad you brought that up because if I'm going to be like the type of OU fan that I am, where I'm at the same time optimistic and pessimistic, The only other time OU's had a situation like this where they're playing a team in a big game where that team is coming off of disappointing performances and everyone is questioning them, it was Texas. It was, is Arch Manning the biggest bust in college football history? New York Times article or The Athletic, wherever that was written. It was, Texas has the worst offensive line that they've had since the Tom Herman days. All those thoughts and commentary went into that game, and Texas came out and played absolutely motivated football. And to be honest, OU, John Mateer, the spot that they were in terms of John Mateer coming back from surgery, kind of helped Texas bleed into that game a little bit more. If for some reason, like if somehow OU just kind of scored 14 points, right off the bat, if they were able to do that against Texas, who knows if Texas is able to play as inspired. But all that to say, no doubt that's going to happen a lot with Alabama over these next few weeks, Peyton. I mean, people are going to be like, yeah, I mean, Alabama should beat OU because they outplayed them in Tuscaloosa a few weeks ago. But this isn't a great Alabama team. And Kalen DeBoer, like, maybe going to be on the hot seat next year when they eventually get beat in this playoff. So I'm curious how, one, Alabama comes out after a few weeks of everyone saying that they've essentially backdoored into this spot. And number two, how does OU combat them, considering that it's kind of similar vibes to the Texas game, except for John Mateer's like physical limitation?
I mean, the vibe to me is the same one as I had walking in, when we were podcasting and I had people on from the Alabama football podcast, Dave on that side, was basically the game to me comes down to the exact same ways it came down last time. Does OU's defensive line cause enough havoc against Alabama? And I know it's like it's at home now. It's this. There's a lot of different variables. To me, there are no other variables. It is does the OU defensive line control Alabama's offense to the point in time to where Oklahoma can stumble around long enough to then score. Right? I mean, that's Oklahoma's like MO for winning games, is keep it close until John Mateer finally opens his eyes and finds Satania, running for a touchdown, or something like that. So I don't think we're going to see the Ole Miss offense where, Xavier Robinson's got 150 yards rushing, and it's like all of a sudden, like, I mean, even in that loss, I was thinking like, okay, if Oklahoma's offense plays this way the rest of the season, we're in. I did not foresee Oklahoma's offense getting worse and still getting in. So that's something that's a bit of a surprise for me. But the game for Oklahoma is a game that's been every single game during this playoff stretch. I'll just keep calling it during Red November and everything, which is, can the defensive line continue doing what they do? And to be honest with you, that's a lot easier to do, right? That's a lot easier to repeat. That's a lot easier to travel with. It's just, you tell your four big guys, go forward, not QB has to drop 5 steps. He has to throw. The quarterback has to read. It's like there's a bunch of different variables that happen on offense. OU finally is that SEC team that Oklahoma used to play in playoffs and in big bowl game situations where the game was simple for them. The game was sack the quarterback. And Oklahoma finally gets to be in that driver's seat for a side of it. To me, that's the game within the game, and that's the only game that matters. You need to score points, obviously, much better than you did last time, but it's a simple formula for Oklahoma moving forward against any team they play.
I mean, you're right. And that kind of begs the question from an offensive standpoint, because that's the big question, because I mean, we've already mentioned Xavier Robinson maybe taking advantage of these next few weeks just to get healthy. I mean, Jaden Jackson's also in that category too. Like, he's been playing extremely hurt and not being able to play that much. So hopefully with him having these few weeks off, you get him closer to full health as much as you can, Jaden Jackson, so that he can factor that much more into OU's game plan. And then, of course, hopefully getting our Mason Thomas back, it makes it that much more of a challenge for Alabama. But, like, Alan, for this, I think the big question is, does OU just go into this game from an offensive standpoint with the same idea of just, we don't need to stretch the field like they tried to do it, and at times, succeeded against LSU, which weirdly LSU secondary is awesome. And that was the game where they were like, yep,
Yeah.
stretch the field. Alabama's a little bit more gettable. And they're like, no, we don't need to throw the ball further than 12 yards if we need to. Just, don't turn the ball over. So I wonder if they are going to go into this game with the same mentality, or if they're going to try to take advantage of, hey, John's had a few weeks off. He's in a much better mental state now. He's not as destroyed as he was during the November run. So let's try to unleash him a little bit. And that opens the door for potential turnovers, which is always scary.
Whew, yeah. That's kind of the razor's edge, isn't it? Especially considering you didn't turn it over the first time they played it at all, right? So
yeah,
they're plus 3. Yeah, you worry just one turnover in that game the first time around might have changed it. So, but I don't know. You kind of got to go down swinging. You know what I mean? I guess we'll see what Alabama looks like when they come out. But OU certainly, I guess the way that I look at it is OU's not going to be able to follow the same game script this time around that they did last time. I mean, if they do, it'd be miraculous to get out to a lead like that. Just based on Alabama's kind of, or I guess plays that OU makes, but scores that aren't necessarily repeatable, I guess would be the way to put it. I have a hard time believing that'll happen twice, just because that's not how football goes. But in that sense, yeah, OU will need to have a better game plan or something else that they can go to on offense to sustain drives. Hopefully, maybe it's the running game. Maybe it's they pick up something that maybe they saw the last couple weeks with Bama. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm trying to see if there is an early forecast for December 20th in Oklahoma. But of course, AccuWeather has one of the worst websites on earth. Let's see. Let's scroll all the way down. 12/20, 62 degrees.
Though.
Oh, it's on the 19th.
The evening of the 19th.
Okay. Friday. Oh, yeah. Friday night. High of 49 degrees, partly sunny. As of right now, we'll see how much that changes. It's going to be windy. It's going to be cold. It's December. Mm-hmm. Guys, this is. I mean, I don't know. Like, they got into the playoff. Why not win the fucking thing, Peyton? And again, like we had mentioned already earlier in the show, it's a favorable side of the bracket. You and I had a back and forth on Discord of last week about Ohio State and Indiana. And I'm very happy Indiana won. It's hard not to root for them. It's hard not to like Curt Cignetti. He's a great, great coach. I'm still very shocked that Ohio State lost to them. You called this one. So credit to you. With that said, if OU is able to get out of the first round, take care of business at home, knowing full well that Indiana is great. Like, if you had to play Indiana or Ohio State, do you want to play a team filled with Jeremiah Smiths and Caleb Downs, or do you want to play Fernando Mendoza, who, again, very good. Curt Cignetti, very good. They've got great receivers. But to me, Peyton, it really looked like Ohio State hadn't played a team that could really push them since Texas. And they didn't really know how to counter against Indiana, who's, of course, very good. So, again, you're picking your poison at this point. Mm-hmm. Everybody in this bracket, for the most part, is good and deserves to be here. So every game's going to be a challenge. But again, if you're trying to find the most navigatable path, getting out of the first round and then playing Indiana is a much better prospect than playing Ohio State.
Yeah. I mean, do you want to play Ohio State with all the talent they have, who just recently, I mean, to be honest with you, just recently got over the whole choking big games thing,
yeah,
right, in the bowl game, stuff like that, or do you want to play the reincarnated 2000 Oklahoma Sooners in Indiana, who just somehow magically can win games with everything on the line? So I mean, you kind of have to pick your poison on that. Removing any sort of sarcasm out of the voice. If Oklahoma can beat Alabama, now remember, they are a road dog. You have to couch this as much as you can. if they beat it, you go to the Rose Bowl. Maybe there's some historical demons that get exercised from Oklahoma out there, and you play an Indiana team in which you don't necessarily have the way of doing it. What am I trying to say here? Indiana is showing that they can out scheme everybody, basically, right? I mean, if you watch that Big Ten championship game, they basically played too high and said we're always going to have a safety over the top of Jeremiah Smith. The one time or a couple times they didn't, he burned them, and that they are very scheme sound, and they're not going to get out of their scheme, and they don't. Teams do things to get you out of certain things, right? Like look at what Georgia is doing in Alabama by hitting the edge. I mean, what Oklahoma does, right? You try to get them out of looks. And Indiana's shown the ability of saying we're just not going to fall for that. We're just going to play our scheme, play what we do, and it costs. And then the only way to beat a team like that is when Oklahoma was beating TCU. Like once you figured the scheme out, or it's just out athlete them, basically, right? Of like, all right, we know what you're going to do. We'll just do it, and then like, good luck to you. And not think about it from that side. So Oklahoma's built itself around that idea of being somewhat scheme independent with its advantages, right? So I think that would be interesting. But I don't want to look past Alabama too much. You got to look through Alabama.
Oh no. This isn't like OU's going to win. We're just talking about like the potential path. Everybody on this show, and Matt included, I'm going to assume it's going to be tough for OU to win a playoff game. It would have been tough for OU to beat Notre Dame or Miami, even though those matchups on paper appear much more favorable. And trust me, I would have loved, with the history nerd that I am, after having had to play Miami in the fucking Orange Bowl for a national championship in the 1987 season, I would have loved to have played them in Norman, Oklahoma for not necessarily a national title game, but the right to keep playing for one. That would have been sweet. It also would have been sweet to watch R. Mason Thomas and David Stone chase after Carson Beck, who, God love him, is probably the ugliest human being I've ever seen in my entire life. He needs to thank God he's good at football. It would have been fun to watch that. It's still going to be great for OU and Alabama to play another football game. And I guess on another personal note, even though they're not a permanent rival, the whole thing the SEC is doing, joining the SEC, I really wanted OU and Alabama to play every year, and I wanted that to be like our new Nebraska. I think the fan bases appreciate each other. They look forward to those games. We've just not played them enough, and I guess we're not going to really be able to play them enough moving forward. But playing them 3 times in 2 years in the initial 2 years in the SEC, Alan, maybe my dreams of an OU Alabama rivalry can just get kickstarted with this game.
Yeah, right. I mean, kind of a maybe like de facto rivalry, right, as opposed to an actual one in substance. So yeah, but I mean, OU has. The funny part is, like, OU has a historically really good record against Alabama. It's amazing for as good a program as Bama has been, So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of kind of that history to it, right? I mean, there's a reason why these two teams are playing on Friday night, kind of, having to stage themselves. So that part of it's pretty cool.
I believe it was the 1963 Orange Bowl. It was Bud Wilkinson's second to last season as head coach at OU. Alabama, they played Alabama and they lost 17-0. Do you guys know who the quarterback was for Alabama?
Wait, what year was that?
I think it was 1963. It was like Bud's last years, and he coached into the early 60s.
It wasn't. Was it Joe Namath?
It was Joe Namath.
Oh wow. Okay. Wow.
Broadway Joe himself. OU lost to Alabama in the Orange Bowl in whatever year that was. It wasn't for a national championship that season. Then they played in the Astro Bluebonnet Bowl and tied in 1970. Yeah, 1970, because that was the game that was the year that OU unveiled the wishbone, and they ran up and down the field against Bear Bryant's Alabama squad, and he liked it so much that he was like, I want to run the wishbone. And then Alabama went on to have a lot of success with the wishbone in the SEC. And then from that point on, they tied that game, by the way, if I didn't mention that. From that point on, they didn't play until 02-03. OU won those games. And they won the Sugar Bowl in 2013 with Trevor Knight, and lost the Orange Bowl, whatever it was called, in the playoffs, Tua versus Kyler in 2018. And then, of course, OU's won the last 2 games against Alabama. I believe that's the record for the series. I mean, guys, Peyton, anything else? I mean, real quick, I do want to get your guys' opinion on this. And if we're going too long, I'm sorry, we don't need to spend that much more time, because we'll have time to digest this for the next few days and then come on the live stream on Tuesday and have a lot more stuff to talk about. But I guess this is a big victory for the conference championships still matter. And I don't know how you would legislate this, but in my opinion, it makes sense in my head that if your only path to a playoff spot is you have to win the conference championship game and that your opponent is kind of in it already, to me, if you, as the playoff comfortable team in that scenario, if you lose to the team that the only way they get in is by virtue of beating you, you need to be punished for that. So the example that I have in my head is last year's ACC title game. Clemson was not a playoff team. SMU kind of was. All they had to do was just win the ACC championship game, and they were definitely in. SMU blows it. Clemson wins. And then Clemson catapults into the playoff game by virtue of winning it. So cool, they earned it. SMU shouldn't have been in. Like, you need to get punished for that, in my opinion. You can't legislate that. No, that would never happen. And I guess after Alabama getting in over Notre Dame, kind of it keeps the conference championship games at least on life support for another season.
Well, but my only pushback for that, and obviously, your higher tiered structure of looking at college football and its history and everything, in my mind, kind of skews the week to week at times. So for SMU, by virtue of being in there, they weren't, before they played Clemson, they were in the playoff field, right? Mm-hmm. They hadn't won the ACC yet, which means they were in the playoff field as an at-large. They had already secured an at-large bid. The only thing they could have done is increased their standing in the field, right, at that point in time. So I think if you already quote unquote secured your spot as an at-large, I don't think you should be punished at that point in time. So like Alabama was already in the field. The SEC title game only thing it could have done, in my opinion, is to increase their seeding at that point in time. I saw like Nicole, what's her last name?
Auerbach,
talking about the BYU thing. It's like, well, BYU wasn't in the field. They were at 11, which means they would have missed because of the 2 champions. Like, they would have missed. They were outside the field trying to play their way in. Mm-hmm. Them losing, they were quote unquote punished, but they weren't already in the field. So in my mind, if you've already quote unquote secured the spot as an at-large, I don't think you can then punish them for an additional optional game. Now, if you tried to play your way in, then yeah, sure, at that point in time. So to me, it gets a little iffy, and I can understand both sides of it, but to me, that's the difference between the SMU and the BYU and why Bama's still in. Now, why Bama didn't move any, I think it's obviously pretty clear why they needed to get an ACC team in. But there's at that point in time, to me, Alabama should have dropped to 10. You keep them in, though, and then they would have flip-flopped with Notre Dame. Notre Dame should be at 9. But
yeah, you
couldn't do that because you needed the ACC in. I'm sure people in the ACC, honestly, it's the ESPN product, right? ACC, so helps them out. They get the one who gets to call that charge. NBC is probably, I guess you have the state of Texas, the state of, I guess you're going to get maybe some lawsuits. I doubt you get lawsuits, but NBC is probably not really happy about
Who gives
this.
a shit? Who gives a shit? Notre Dame, I'm sorry, you need to join a conference and it needs to be the Big Ten. Stop fucking around. This is stupid. Your answer, Peyton, you're right. That's why my idea of how conference championship games should be looked at won't be legislated like that, because you're right. It needs to be looked at with nuance. You can't legislate nuance. And what I mean is further going into SMU last year, for the example, you're right. They were an at-large bid going into the ACC title game. But while Alabama's kind of in the same boat this year, Alabama's in a tougher conference and proved it. SMU here's their schedule last year at Nevada when HCU, I don't know what HCU is, but
Houston
they won.
Christian.
Okay, well, they won
Yeah.
that game. They lost to BYU 18-15. BYU was not as good as they were last year as they are this year. They beat TCU. They beat the hell out of Florida State, who won one game last year. They beat Louisville. They beat Stanford. They beat Duke, who was not the ACC champion last year. They beat Pitt. They beat Boston College. By the way, they had 3 off weeks. They beat Virginia, and they beat Cal. They had done nothing to anybody. And so if your catapult into the playoff is winning an ACC championship game against a team who is at the time not in the field unless they beat you, to me, it's like this is a de facto playoff game. Like, I'm sorry, ACC, but the teams in your conference just aren't good enough. And credit to you for winning it, but you guys do not get 2 in. That to me is how you can kind of still value the conference championship games, because I hate Peyton Allen, you can jump on this, whoever. I hate looking at it like, well, it's an extra game and they shouldn't be punished. It's like, no. This is football. We don't get to, this isn't a hand-holding sport. And to me, the whole like Alabama shouldn't be punished for playing an extra game. It's like, no. Like, this is football. And if you lose, you lose. Like, I'm just tired of hand-waving losses because they don't fit your particular narrative.
Well, to me, I think then I see where you're coming from, because you're doing a very absolutist, a loss is a loss, but then that means you are inherently rewarding everyone for not winning their conference or not even going
for not
to a
playing.
conference
Yeah,
game. Like, congrats, Oklahoma, you get rewarded for not being good enough to make the SEC title game. I mean, you get to avoid that mind trap.
Your reward is, if you win enough games against the right amount of, like, the right quality of teams like OU has done, you get into the playoff. But you've got to go a long way. What's that?
If Oklahoma had made it in with their profile, if Oklahoma had played there at the 8 and they lost, that'd be tough.
Didn't Alabama win at Georgia earlier this year?
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about? Like, who cares? Like, I don't know, man. I guess I'm looking at this and just like, first of all, I have a hard time getting too concerned about anybody ranked really outside the top 4, probably. Like, I think one of those 4 teams is going to win this. And so, like, the rest, to me, I'm like, whatever. They're all so close. They're roughly the same to me. Miami, Alabama, they're all the same. Who cares?
That goes back to the conversations we had when it was still a 4-team playoff format going into what it is now, where, I said it, I think you guys also thought it as well. Go back to any year and find me a team ranked outside of the top 3 or 4 and tell me that they were like a legitimate threat to win the national championship that year. Because you can find 1 or 2 years. One of them was 2007, and hell, one of them might have been 2 years ago, 23, where it's like
Georgia.
It's basically like there's not 1 or 2 true elite teams, and this is the year to kind of get it. It just doesn't happen that much in college football. And so, my Lee over at West of Everest, they love the 12-team format because it's like, like a team like OU is playing legitimate, like, big-time football in the postseason, and with a 4-team playoff format, they'd just be playing in a who gives a shit bowl. That's true. I don't have any national championship aspirations, realistically. They can prove me wrong, and that's the magic of the sport, and Sooner Magic is an actual thing, but it would be very, very, very difficult for that to happen. Very hard pressed for that to happen. I don't know. I like conference championship games, but it's just one of those things where, like, it's like you're betting a bunch of money on in blackjack. It's like, if you're gonna risk it, you could win big, or you could just go home with nothing. And I wish conference championship games kind of had that win or go home aspect to it, but I understand why it's not the case.
I guess I'd just be like, go ahead, Peyton.
Oh, sorry. So for OU fan, learn to read the betting lines. There's a couple of people tweeting out Oklahoma is a 2-point favorite. You just read that wrong. Oklahoma. Mason Young. Sorry, Mason Young. If you ever listen to this, That's not how the betting line works. Oklahoma is a dog in this game. And then get in value seems like the lowest ticket I could find is $420. So save up some money real quick, guys.
420.
That might go up to 600, 700.
What's not that this matters, but what's OU's record as a dog this year?
Oh,
I would
gosh,
assume
well,
pretty good.
Yeah, they were dog. Let's see here. So they were dog against.
They were favored against Texas and Ole Miss, I believe.
Were they favored by the end of it against Texas, or were they?
Yeah, remember they were. I think OU
That
was
one
like
was weird. The line was all over the place, all because of Mateer.
I remember
yeah.
I remember going into the Cotton Bowl and it jumped up like a point in favor of OU, and that made me think, oh, John is playing.
Right. So if that's the case, then they would. I mean, they had 2 games at least they lost as favorites, and then how many games would they have been a dog in? I think they would have only been a dog against Bama then, right? So they would
Tennessee.
have 1-0. Oh, Tennessee 2-0. Yep. Yeah.
Tennessee, Bama. Yeah, were they've been dogs against South Carolina?
No, they were a short favorite.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't know, it's small sample size. I don't know, man. It's I'm excited to watch OU play Alabama. I would have been excited for Notre Dame. I've been excited for Miami for, somewhat similar reasons. Notre Dame has a historical edge over OU. And Miami had that 85 to 87 streak that still irks like my dad's generation. So it'd be great I've already seen us beat Miami in my lifetime. It'd be great to like beat them when they're good in a big game. Would have been cool to see it in Norman, but Alabama, that's a fun matchup. That's why we sign up to be college football fans. So, any other final thoughts, guys? Anything else like with these matchups? I mean, I think the funnest path is going to be what Oregon against Texas Tech. That'll be just to see like how actually good is Texas Tech.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones where like I can see Texas Tech when watching them play. They look really sharp to me.
They play
but
very good complementary football.
Yes, yeah. But Oregon, I mean, they've kind of like muddled through at the end here, though. They've had so many injuries, and I think a lot of those guys will be coming back healthy. So, I mean, that's one team that if there's like a dark horse to me here in this field, like it's Oregon.
Peyton?
Any takeaways on that? I mean, looking at these other teams, you see how they're built up. Tech is built up in a similar way as Oklahoma. A lot of money on the defensive line, and they've been doing a lot of good stuff on there. I think the opposite of Oklahoma. I think you should run directly at them and make that linebacker. I mean, Rodriguez, super good guy. He reminds me more of a Kenneth Murray type, side to side, very athletic, can make plays that way. I'm not sure he wants to eat, a guard or a fullback every other play. That's what I would do against them. But I mean, I don't know. It's interesting. I do think this is probably. Now, remember, the only reason why we have this right now is because the Big Ten and the SEC couldn't agree to a 16-team playoff. My assumption is that we have a 5+11 model next year if we have 2 G6 teams in here.
Did I see that? Did I see that Yormark, the Big 12 commissioner, is in favor of that recently?
Yes, he's in favor of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He's not an idiot. I mean, because because they're trying to do the 4-4-2-2 and then 4 out-larges. If I did the math right, real quickly, but Big Ten couldn't fulfill the 4 right now. Oklahoma, Texas? SEC is currently above that 4 right now. I mean, it just makes sense for an SEC to push for 5-11 because you're going to have a chance to get more teams in than other teams at that point in time. But no, overall, it's good. I would honestly say if you like the 12 team, this is probably it. Have some fun with it, and then just roll with it. Go out there Friday, have some fun. My assumption is that they're going to be is game day going to be there? Didn't they do game day 2 times last year? Like after day or something?
I think they did, yeah. So you probably get something like OU, and then they could probably head down to A&M next day, right?
Yeah. So have some fun, guys. I mean, Oklahoma's back in it. I mean, Oklahoma's left for dead, right? Everyone knew Nebraska. This. They're all dead, and guess what? We're back.
Mm.
Yeah.
We're back before other
And
teams are. And
it's a
Lincoln
great
Riley's out there
marketing,
sitting at
yeah.
home. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is it. I mean, this is great. Just enjoy it. Go full crazy. Make it tough for Alabama. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I think Oklahoma can win. Can't obviously any team can win this game. I would probably lean towards Oklahoma winning it because I think the advantage they have pretty much outweighs whatever advantage Alabama would have. I'd understand going either way, but get it done. Have fun.
Yeah, and especially like with Brent, and I so badly want Brent to work because when it works for Brent, it's so satisfying as an OU fan. It is very satisfying to like a guy with that temperament, that passion, all those things. Like when he's winning, like that's great for me as a fan. For I guess like in terms of OU potentially winning this game against Alabama, it's to me, it's the prospect of it. It would go such a long way, and at least like Alan, you were kind of mentioning with the marketing from the marketing standpoint, it would go a long way in terms of on paper. This is the worst that the true idea of the Brent Venables led OU program is going to look, because the defense is at like a level that, okay, it should be sustainable in terms of you're going to lose players, but it's kind of a proven commodity at this point. They should be one of the best defenses in the SEC year in and year out, and therefore one of the best defenses in the country. But it's the worst version of it just because the offense is in year one of Ben Arbuckle. It's in year one of Jim Nagy and OU having a front office, learning on the fly of how to build a team, retain a team, recruit, so on and so forth. So knowing full well that even with all that positive thing being said, you know, if there's a pattern with Brent, good year, bad year, good year, bad year. Offense, good, bad. You know, it's trending in the wrong direction for the offense. It's a great marketing place to be in, because OU playing with house money at this point in the playoff, if they're able to get better on offense with talent in the offseason, things are kind of going in the right direction. Like Peyton had mentioned, we were left for dead, and now it's in a much different spot now.
If you go look at ESPN's predictions, it's kind of split a little bit between who should win who will win Oklahoma, Alabama. More split than I thought it would be, actually. But Bill Connolly, everyone's using predictive measures to say Oklahoma shouldn't be in this playoff. The S&P King himself, I'm assuming the model shows Oklahoma winning 27-17. Or maybe that's a gut decision by him. But interesting to Interesting to see that on that side coming from him. He then has us getting completely shellacked by Indiana. But win a game, and we'll figure out the rest after that. But no, have fun. Ignore. My assumption is there's going to be a lot of Oklahoma should never even be here. So just have fun, and then tune in to us.
And enjoy all the hate. You know what I mean? Like, I always find that funny. Like I've been more chirpy and mouthy lately on my social media accounts, just because it's so much fun. Like all the Texas stuff and everything.
I was too young to really be aware of the 2000 season. Like Alan, I would imagine that while OU went on the Red October run and they were clearly the best team in the country, I'm sure there were still a lot of people who are like, you know, Miami should be there, you know, blah, blah, blah. And Miami would beat OU. Like, I'm sure it was like kind of a similar vibe.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, though, is it wasn't quite the same volume just because you didn't have social media with everybody chiming in, you know, but you certainly had people in the media, you know, trying to really, back then it was like 3 or 4 people as opposed to now, you know, so.
And honestly, it'd be even harder. My assumption too back then it was less Oklahoma shouldn't be there, but Miami should be there over Florida State.
Yes,
right?
that would be that was more the sentiment. Yeah. And then it was like, well, okay, so what about Washington? And nobody seemed to be that interested in that part. Yeah,
Marquise Tuiasosopo.
Yes,
couldn't beat him. All right, guys. Anything else before we get out of here?
Having fun, man.
I know. Yep. It's fun. It's fun to be playing important football this late in the year. Real quick. Are we going to see a repeat of the Ole Miss Tulane game from earlier this season where Ole Miss won 45-10? Or do we have without Lane Kiffin factor, maybe, some magic for Tulane?
No magic.
No magic.
They'll get smoked.
I think it's like a little bit closer, but it's like 45-17.
Yeah.
No RMFW in this one.
And I think Oregon just steamrolls JMU.
Yeah, that one will be even worse.
Did they play JMU a few years ago? Or was that Liberty? That was Liberty, right?
Liberty. Yeah,
And
Liberty, that sounds right, yeah. But
now
yeah.
retired Willie Korn or whatever his name is.
And then I guess I would pick Miami over A&M.
I don't know, man.
I'm trying to flip a coin in my brain on that side. Should be some interesting matchups. This must be just dreadful for the networks, though.
Yeah.
Like, we got one big, awesome game. This other game we're putting at noon for some reason. And then these two just trash games.
And it's on a Friday, so there's no NFL game.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, how many viewers did they get for the regular season game? 10.5, 10.4, something like that million.
It was,
I think it's 10.5,
high.
something like that. Yeah.
Whew. Might be 12. No. All right. Let's get out of here. Everybody, patrons, thank you so much for joining us on the live stream. If you did, thank you. We appreciate y'all. If you're listening to this podcast wise, truly still appreciate your patronage. He's playing big time football. Oh yeah. Check out, oh my God. What is it? Home field
apparel. Yeah.
I was wanting to say Homestar Runner. Go watch Homestar Runner on YouTube. No, go get Home Field apparel because, dude, you want to look great on Friday when Alabama comes to town for the big game. So go check them out. And like you had mentioned, Peyton, on Twitter, Home Field is now a football school.
Yeah, they did it. Indiana.
They're excited. Imagine the advertising possibilities if OU gets past Alabama and they play Indiana. Could be fun. All right, patrons, we're getting out of here. Thank you all so much. But for Mr. Peyton Guthrie, Alan Kenny, the absent Matt Burton, myself, Brady Trantham, everybody, thank you so much. Until next time, Boomer.
Sooner in stream.